SPE, some of whom are the gentlemen in the room. Welcome to the Women's Development Program. We must not lose sight of our conference theme for 2019. Artificial intelligence, big data, and mobile technology changing the future of the energy industry. And for this Women Development Program, we're looking at the intersection of information and energy technologies, empowering women for digital age. Did you know that the world's GDP has been growing around, hovering around 75 trillion since 2017? And it is said that in the next decade or two, some estimates are suggesting that IoT, Internet of Things, will be contributing approximately 10 to 15 trillion dollars to the world's GDP. And when we juxtapose that with the fact that oil and gas contributes, in the earlier figure I gave, between 2 and 3% of the world's GDP, you begin to take seriously the conversations around this year's theme of artificial intelligence and big data, because besides being the future, it is gradually become the reality of today. Those estimates of a decade or two from now might just be something not very correct, because at the pace it is going, for instance, Google's driverless cars averages somewhere around, I think it's 10,000 or 100,000 hours a week. No, I don't have the exact figures right now, but somewhere around that is what Google's driverless cars averages. Very much above what had been estimated in the past. When you also look at the kind of AI that is brought to play in electrical cars, you also see that truly and indeed, those estimates of IoT adding between 10 to 15 trillion in the next 10, 20 years. Distinguished women of SPE and their invited guests, we're looking at the intersection of information and energy technologies, empowering women for digital age. I wonder what the likes of my grandfather would have done if he was alive to see today. But the truth is, he was a man who, I can't disrespect the dead or someone that up there in my lineage. He had a very wrong notion, very horribly wrong notion of not sending his daughters to school. Now, this was many years ago. Very many years ago. As it turned out, the women he didn't send to school turned out to become the fibers, or if you like, the lifeline of the entire extended family. Even though they didn't go to school. My mom, from her own part, fell victim of such as well. But they all became women that held things together. The point I'm making being, as more and more women are empowered, we cannot say it enough, that the world will become a better place. As more and more women get to understand their role in this digital setting, as one of our speakers on the panel today has done many, many years ago, has taken the lead in her own industry. A game changer she is. So the women we'll be seeing on the panel here today are game changers, anyhow you look at it, in their very respective fields, whether in public, private, or personal service. These women are completely, or have completely flipped the coin, broken stereotypes, and have shattered a lot of glass ceilings. I think they even dare to shatter concrete ceilings. So when they come up to speak, irrespective of what you've heard them say before or you've not met them before, I would urge us to please pay very close attention and ask them questions that are not just going to help you accelerate, but questions that would help you overcome some of your worst fears. Speaking of which, www.menti.com is how you engage, how you interact with them. Don't forget to do that. Don't forget to do that. That is how you engage and how you are going to interact with them. So please take note of that. We're getting started with the program. Just a quick reminder of what the program is going to look like. We will, of course, start with a welcoming from our conference, I beg your pardon, our council chairman. We'll then listen to our sponsors, and thereafter, I'll pass it on to the chair for WDP, who will do the honors of introducing our very resourceful, renowned speakers. Thereafter, we'll have some key presentations and then yield the stage and the floor to our moderator for the day, who will take us through the panel discussion, take your interventions, and that will be it for today. That said, I'd like to know if there is a representative from Schlumberger here this afternoon. Platform Petroleum, any rep? Mavi Energy? Any rep from Mavi Energy? Okay. Okay. I'm waiting for our speakers to come into the room and then we get started. As at 2008, I wonder what the figures will be today. It was said that there were more objects connected to the IoT than there were people. And in the next 3 years, at least 250 vehicles, 250,000 vehicles would have been connected to the IoT. Understanding what role we would play in this future that is around the corner, knocking on our doors, is critical to our sustainability in business, in life, and in everything we do. A very good afternoon once again. A warm welcome to our distinguished speakers. I get started with the business of the afternoon. It's important at this event that we kick-started with the national anthem of our dearly beloved country, Nigeria. I'd like to ask us to now please rise and let's sing the national anthem on my cue of 3. Shall we please rise? 1, 2, 3. Ah. With love and strength and faith, the labor of our heroes past shall never be in vain. To serve with heart and mind, one nation bound in freedom, peace and unity. God bless the Federal Republic of Nigeria. We may be seated. Thank you very much. Very distinguished ladies and gentlemen, my name is Richmond Osuji, In a few minutes, we will get to meet our panelists and our speakers who have joined us here today. We appreciate again the presence of our most distinguished senior members of the SPE. And very quickly, let me continue now to our opening remark for this event by asking to join me on the podium. And please, with your applause, let's receive him, our council chairman, Mr. Debo Fagbami, who is also the CEO of the Zenergy Group.
Thanks, Richmond. A very warm good afternoon to everybody, and welcome to the afternoon session. And I sincerely hope everybody had a very good lunch. If you've not had lunch, lunch is still served, but the bar has been shut down, just for you to know. Yeah. First of all, I want to appreciate our sponsors, for making this event possible. I know Richmond already asked for the representatives, but I'll just mention for quick acknowledgements. Oando, Platform Petroleum, please a round of applause for them. Schlumberger and Marvis Energy, I believe, yeah. So this afternoon we're going to be having a very much sought after component of our Naice conference, which is the Women Development Program. We introduced this into the conference proceedings right about 5 years ago, and ever since then we've been having a year-on-year increments, in attendance at this particular event. The hall might look empty right now, but I can assure you that before we end today, it's going to be filled to the brim with more people still trying to come back in. Women are a very special part of SPE. We, on the personal notes, as a service company engineer, I have tremendous amount of respect for women professionals. The best set of trainee engineers that I've trained and mentored, in my career have been women, right? And I really give it up to them because they have the initiative, and I always look at them, first of all, as engineers before I start looking at them as women. I know I have one of the speakers worked with me as my trainee engineer. He's not a woman, but he might doubt what I'm saying, but I'm sure he can confirm it, if he has the opportunity to say so. On a personal note, as far as women are concerned, I have one of each category of woman in my life. I have one wife, one mother, one sister, and one daughter, right? And I'm so proud of all of them. I don't know if my wife is in the audience. She's supposed to be here. Okay, if she's not here, I'll also say that before I got married, I used to have one girlfriend at a time, so fully compliant at any point in time. So I want to appreciate our distinguished speakers. Okay, the speakers are composed of women who have distinguished themselves across various endeavors, and it's a pleasure to have them accept our invitation to be here with us. Of course, sandwiched between these women is a gentleman. I don't know if he's a ladies' man, but he's a gentleman that has equally distinguished himself initially as an oil and gas professional before diversifying into the area of ICT stuff. Our planning team for the Women Development Program have done a tremendous amount of work of putting this together, and I want to appreciate them, led by Chineye Chukwuneke. Chineye, are you in the hall? All right, she's back there. Please, a round of applause for them. And they've done all this to ensure that your experience here is richly rewarding across all fronts. So, ladies and gentlemen, without preempting the outcome of these deliberations, I want to urge you to all sit back, relax once again, and enjoy what is going to be a very impactful and a very enriching discussion for everybody. Thank you very much, and welcome to the WDP.
Thank you very much. So quickly, we'll take 2 minutes each from our sponsors of this event. Our council chairman has thanked them. Let me begin with Oando Energy Resources as I invite their general manager for subsurface, Babafemi Onasonya.
Good afternoon, everybody, distinguished ladies and gentlemen. Once again, I'd like to welcome everyone to this second session this afternoon. It gives me great pleasure to be part of this gathering and an honor to give the opening remarks of the Women Development Program. Women development is topical around the world today, and as a sector, we cannot continue to play second fiddle to the developed world. I commend the Society of Petroleum Engineers for including this topic in the agenda of the day. Like Hillary Clinton said, women are the largest untapped reservoir of talent in the world. That is why at Oando, we do not underestimate the value that women bring to the table. Oando's female employee population increased from 21% in 2016 to 38% in 2017 as a result of deliberate efforts by the company's management to diversify its staff strength and promote women's development. Also, 3 of our 9 senior executives of Oando PLC are women. The theme of this program, the intersection of information and energy technologies empowering women for the digital age, is in alignment with the conference theme focusing on artificial intelligence, big data, and mobile technology. This session is going to highlight the Nigerians that the Nigerian economy stands to benefit from leveraging artificial intelligence and big data to drive development, grow businesses, and considerably improve Nigerians' human capital development index. As my esteemed industry colleague will agree with me, most of the conventional ways of working in the energy industry are ripe for an advanced technological overhaul. AI deep learning capabilities could be used to make better predictions about the maintenance of critical network assets so that intervention is not only just in time, but targeted. AI complements rather than replaces human intelligence. It does not have all the answers to the challenges facing the future of energy. Rather, it is the means by which solution might be surfaced. It is the technology that enables tasks, particularly repetitive or labor-intensive ones, to be performed smartly and quickly, reducing costs and improving efficiencies. Those businesses that start adopting and testing AI technologies right now stand a better chance of keeping up. We must all take on the challenge of how to adopt and leverage these technologies for the advancement of the Nigerian society and further empower our men for the digital age. I dare say at Oando, we are already doing this through employing philanthropy and other wholly owned foundation called Oando's Foundation. In commemoration of the International Day of Women and Girls in Science, Technology, and Engineering and Mathematics for our female engineers, the female engineers dedicated the day to mentoring the female pupils in one of our adopted primary schools in Victoria Island. I believe some of you have carried out such initiatives as this. I implore all the companies represented in this room today to take on the mantle to create the much needed gender balance in the workplace. I am positive this program will help develop our consciousness and provide some ideas on what and how we can do to achieve these goals. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Onasoyan, General Manager, Subsurface for Oando Energy Resources. Thank you. Let's one more time, please appreciate one of our sponsors. Very quickly, before we continue with the event, another of our sponsor who's just walked in, the Managing Director, Platform Petroleum Limited, Engineer Osa Oweadolo, one of our sponsors for this session. Can we celebrate our sponsors a bit better, please? Thank you.
Thank you, Richmond. Chairman, SP Nigeria Council, ladies and gentlemen, I think you should just permit me to stand on the existing protocols. It's my pleasure to welcome every one of you to this section. I still recall when Debo and his team approached us for, for sponsorship. We were not quite sure of which of the events to sponsor. And all we did was to write a bulk check to him. And we actually gave him the discretion to apply it, wherever he felt was most appropriate. A few days ago, we realized that it was applied for this event, and I think you've applied it appropriately. Well done. Well, for us in platform, this is the first time we are sponsoring this. I've looked through the topic, and there's no doubt that it is very apt for for the moment, and of course, given the critical role that women occupies in our lives, even as men and professionals. In platform, we are a small-sized marginal field operator currently, with a staff strength of about 80. 20% of that are women, and I believe to that extent we are not doing badly in terms of diversity and inclusiveness. Looking through the array of speakers, there is no doubt that this program has been thoroughly packaged. It's a pleasure to see Mitchell. I don't know if he's here. I noticed Mitchell is one of the speakers. We were classmates way back in Uniben, and I look forward to to see him today, and also to see Mrs. Ezekwesili also. For the rest of us, we look forward to a very fruitful day, a very fruitful event, and I believe that as we continue in our different professional career, we believe the need to continue to empower women in our field, we continue to be held at a very high esteem. On that note, I want to welcome every one of us again. Thank you very much.
Okay, just thank you very much. Let's give him another round of applause. Engineer Osawi Adolo is the Managing Director of Platform Petroleum. His company a few days ago celebrated one of their female staff who was going on to other things, and the celebration, they rolled out the drums on the carpet. And that, again, shows that diversity is not just in words, but in actions as well. Quick information. There's a lost and found phone. If you missed your phone in the last session, please let me know. There's a lost and found phone. Get one of the ushers to whisper in my ears that you're looking for your phone. Tell them what type of phone you're looking for. Once they get to me, we'll try and get it to you if it is your own phone. Very distinguished ladies and gentlemen, at moments like this, when I start events like this, I would begin by recognizing some of our key persons in the room or our speakers. We'll flip the coin today, because to recognize this array of wonderful speakers, and especially a very distinguishing women in their respective fields, would be the chair of the Women Development Program. I'd like to now welcome Chinenye Chukwueke, who would do, please let's welcome Chinenye Chukwueke. Our council chair told us how much work her and her team has put into bringing this to light and to fruition, if you like, and they've done a stellar job at it. So she it is who will bring on stage our very renowned speakers. Oh, my apologies.
Thank you, Richmond. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I'm going to stand on the existing protocol, and without wasting much of our time, I'll call on our speakers. Our special topic, so this year we decided to do something different. We decided to introduce a special topic that would cut across to everyone. And the topic is breaking your inner limits, excellence through self-actualization. And to do justice to this topic is an accomplished leader, a two-time Nigerian minister, vice president of the World Bank, co-founder of Transparency International, and a global board member since 1994. She began her career with Deloitte and Touche, Akintola Williams, working in audit and consulting. She also worked within the investment and non-banking financial services, as well as the Center for International Development at Harvard University with Professor Jeffrey Sachs as Director of Nigeria Economic Support Program. From 2002, she served as a special assistant and senior special assistant to the President of Nigeria on budget monitoring and the Price Intelligence Unit, and led the institutional reform of the country's public procurement system through the establishment of the due process system in public contracting. She led the work for the drafting of the bill and establishment of Bureau for Public Procurement in Nigeria, and supported most of the 32 states in Nigeria to do the same. In 2012, she became the senior economic advisor at the Open Society Foundation in New York, aimed at building vibrant and tolerant societies with democratically accountable governments. In that position and operating from Abuja, Nigeria, she traveled extensively across Africa, advising a number of presidents and cabinets on sound economic policies to achieve inclusive growth. Since 2005 to date, she serves as the Senior Economic Advisor of the Africa Economic Development Policy Initiative in Abuja and provides policy expertise and advisory support to several country presidents and their cabinets. She co-founded the hashtag Bring Back Our Girls movement, a group of diverse citizens advocating for speedy rescue of schoolgirls abducted in Nigeria in 2014. Through sustained advocacy of the hashtag Bring Back Our Girls, freedom was secured for 107 of the abducted girls, and the movement continues. The movement continues for the remaining 112 hashtag Chibok girls. A chartered accountant, she holds a master's degree in international law and diplomacy from the University of Lagos and a master's degree in public policy and administration with emphasis on economic policy from the Harvard Kennedy School of Government in Cambridge, Massachusetts. She was named one of hashtag Genius 100 Visionary Thinkers of the Future and featured as contributor to the first ever 3D printed book by the Albert Einstein Foundation. She, alongside Melinda Gates of the Gates Foundation, were awarded Women of Impact by the Women in the World, New York, at the World Economic Forum in 2006. She was recognized by Times Magazine as one of the Times 100 most influential people in 2015, and New York Times as one of the 25 Women of Impact in 2015. She was decorated with the National Award of Commander of the Order of the Federal Republic, and she's a globally renowned speaker and is married to Pastor Chinedu Ezekwesili. They are parents to 3 sons, Chinemelum, Chinwuba, and Chidera. Ladies and gentlemen, join me in welcoming Dr. Obiageli Obi Catherine Ezekwesili. Thank you so much, ma'am, for coming. We really appreciate you. Thank you, ma'am. Our keynote address and theme was adapted from the conference theme on artificial intelligence and digitalization, and is titled The Intersection of Information and Energy Technologies, Empowering Women for Digital Age. To help dissect this topic is another very accomplished and very successful woman, a trailblazer, who saw a need in the telecoms industry in Nigeria and decided to fix it for good. After 20 years, the former Verizon executive joined public telecoms company Naice and learned that satellites were just part of the problem. Being an electrical engineer by training, she turned her engineer's eyes towards the ocean, raised $240 million in funding, and laid 4,400 miles of fiber optic cable from Nigeria to Portugal. Big business quickly followed. Online banking, booking services, and retail websites helped build Nigeria to become Africa's biggest economy. Nigeria's internet presence is now a growing space for international business opportunities, all thanks to her. As a pace-setter, she was able to think out of the box to set up a very successful company. This company is a broadband infrastructure services provider that builds West Africa's first privately owned open access submarine cable system connecting Lagos, Nigeria, Accra, Ghana, and Seychelles, Portugal in 2010. In January 2015, the company launched operations of the MDXI, West Africa's largest commercial Tier 3 data center. And in November 2015, it launched a submarine cable extension from Lagos into Kribi, Cameroon. The company recently announced plans for extension into Côte d'Ivoire and Senegal. This company she has founded to become the leading provider of wholesale and enterprise connectivity is across Africa. The company has connected with a lot of other partners and is a global technology company willing to deliver services to its customers. The company continues to grow its footprints with major network interconnection facilities. She has received several recognitions and awards, including Forbes 2018 enlistment as World Top 50 Women in Tech. Ladies and gentlemen, join me in welcoming the brain behind broadband in Nigeria, the CEO and founder of Main One, Mrs. Funke Okpeke. Thank you so much for coming. Our next topic of discussion, titled Beyond Entertainment, Mobile Technology for Business Advancement. Majority of people are filled with trepidation when artificial intelligence is mentioned because people try to paint a picture of robots taking over jobs. To dispel this fear and put the concept in the right perspective is an astute, fine gentleman who leveraged on technology to build a company that yields income every second, even as we're sitting here. He founded this company in 2002, and under his leadership, the company has diversified its business, broadened its distribution, channeled and expanded into new markets, driving revolutionary payments innovation across these markets and delivering strong growth in revenue and profits. And it was recognized by Deloitte in 2014 as Africa's fastest growing technology business. He is an electrical engineer from the University of Benin, Nigeria. He's also an alumnus of IESE. He's a consummate people-centric leader who believes in motivating his colleagues to have confidence in their values as individuals, in the value of the work they do, and in the value as team members. He's relentless in his pursuit of sustainable value for stakeholders. Apart from leading the company to win numerous coveted industry awards, his leadership abilities have earned him several awards, including CNBC Forbes All-African Business Leader for West Africa, the Ernst & Young Entrepreneur of the Year. He enjoys mentoring young entrepreneurs. He's a Bishop Desmond Tutu Fellow of the African Leadership Institute. Ladies and gentlemen, join me in welcoming the founder, Group Managing Director of InterSwitch, Mr. Michel Elegbe, represented today by Mr. Hakim. Our moderator is an elegant lady who manages not one, but 3 units in a multinational oil company. She is responsible for the company's short and long-term strategic planning, performance management of the company's premises, management of the efficiency of the reservoir and facilities health, and the deployment of new technology for efficient operations and cost reduction. She has held different progressive positions in her career, ranging from front-end project manager, subsurface manager, and more recently, the non-operated venture manager of this multinational oil company. Her contributions to the company has attracted numerous special recognition and award. A graduate of geology and mineral science from the University of Ilorin, she got her master's degree in geophysics from the University of Lagos. She joined the current multinational company in 2006 as a senior petroleum geologist, being an experienced hire that had worked about 10 years in Chevron. Her wealth of experience spans exploration, drilling operations, field unitization, field development, strategy and planning, non-operated venture, and performance management. She's a thoroughbred professional with a career spanning across 3 continents, Africa, North America, and Europe. She's result-oriented, multitasker with a strong collaboration skills. She's a self-motivated individual, passionate about people's development with a host of mentees within and outside the industry. She demonstrates courage, authenticity, capacity, and resilience in face of challenges. She's a Christian, a mother, a fashionista, and enjoys traveling, dancing, movies, and meeting people. Ladies and gentlemen, join me in welcoming the Planning, Welsh Reservoir Facility and Technology Manager of the prestigious Shell Nigeria Exploration and Production Company, Mrs. Ibiyemi Ashaolu. Our next speaker and panelist can best be described as beauty and brains. She's a business executive with 20 years experience in management consulting, risk management, and banking and financial advisory. She earned a BSc in economics and an MBA from INSEAD. She's the co-founder and CEO of Impact Hub Lagos, an innovation hub for entrepreneurs, which is part of a global network with 16,000 members in 50 countries worldwide. She's also a founder and CEO of 10 Talents Limited, which provides consulting, recruitment, and financial advisory services to a variety of companies. She's passionate about social change and serves as secretary to the Board of Trustees for the Handicapped Education Foundation and chairman of Can Regenesis, a non-profit organization focused on bringing positive change to the vocational sector. She also sits on the board or advisory councils of various other organizations, including Olorun Shogo Power PLC, Page Financials, Geocare.org, Studio Lumiere, and Moms in Tech UK. Ladies and gentlemen, join me in welcoming the founder, CEO of Impact Hub Lagos and 10 Talents Limited, Mrs. Sholakwe Hammond. You're welcome. Thank you so much for coming. Our next panelist is a smart gentleman who is vision-driven, a change agent with a career-long record of information technology operations and project management success for leading organizations. He has a proven track record for talent hunting in and out of the organization. He works to align the business strategy and objectives with established information technology operations and project management paradigm to achieve maximum operational impacts with minimum resource expenditures. He's a results-oriented thought leader with expertise spanning management of IT and project portfolios, enterprise architecture, technology risk assessment, end-to-end IT service administration, execution management, business process improvement, information systems, vendor and SLA management, and security measures. He is an exceptionally dedicated professional with keen interpersonal communication and organizational skills, as well as team management, policy development, and source allocation expertise for diverse technology environments. Ladies and gentlemen, join me in welcoming the Group Head, Information Technology at Owando, Mr. Idris Musa. Thank you so much for coming.
Thank you very much, Chinenye Chukwuka, giving us what it is, information about a rich panel of speakers. I would just buy a few more seconds of time before I yield it to our very first speaker. We're trying to sort out one or two AI issues around our presentation. So once the AI cable is plugged to the main source, we will get started. But before that, I want to ask again if I have anyone from Schlumberger now or Mavi Energy. You want to do the sponsor's remark on behalf of Schlumberger, or there's someone doing it? Oh, brilliant. So let's welcome the lovely Schlumberger, intelligent and smart lady who is coming to take the sponsor's remark. She'll tell us her name. She'll tell us her name as she steps forward to do that. Can we? That's a sponsor. That's a sponsor. That's a sponsor, please.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Aisha Oke with Schlumberger, and basically the remarks from Schlumberger are just even listening to the very impressive profiles of all these women, we can see that there's definitely value, so much value in gender diversity. And the reason why we selected this program to sponsor is because diversity is so close to our hearts, right? The development of women globally and even in Nigeria it's imperative. It's something we have to do. So thank you so much to SP for this opportunity. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Aisha. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Mavi Energy represented? Nah, oh yeah. Okay, so we're going to continue. Basically, I would have just gotten our speakers up to start speaking. I think we can begin with Ms. Okweke's presentation. Let's begin from there, and then we'll listen to Mrs. Obiozokwesi later. So Frank, please set for me Ms. Okweke's presentation, and then we will continue to. After that, we'll get ready Michelle's. After Michelle's, we'll then come to Dr. Ezekwesilis. So we're ready for Funke Okweke. Ladies and gentlemen, all the profile you have listened to, I don't need to add anything more but to say let's welcome CEO Menwan. Okay. So I guess okay. Let's just go blank. Let's go blank. Now just go back to Dr. Ezekwesili. Yes. It's still AI, ma. It's still AI. Okay. So she would start. One thing is for sure, Dr. Obi Ezekwesili does not need a slide to share her thoughts any day, anytime. But for her to want you to see those slides, I'm sure there is something in it that would leave us here super excited or in deep thoughts about what we need to do to get to the next phase or stage in business or life. That is a guarantee. She has that effect on you whenever she comes to speak at events of this nature. She's a bit more passionate when she has the opportunity to address a crop of amazing women like yourself, especially with a lot of young women in the room who are either students or young professionals. So I'm sure she will be. So as I said earlier, get ready to, in fact, if you are very spiritual, you would have seen her presentation in your sleep last night. So from that thing you saw in your sleep, start asking her questions now. Send your questions. So ladies and gentlemen, our very own internationally renowned and acclaimed Dr. Obi Ezekwesili.
If I ever need a hype man, I know where to come. Ladies and gentlemen, what a delight to be with the Society of Petroleum Engineers, but I'm trying to get a women development program, the program of the women. The reason that I accepted to do this at a time that I really should not be out here other than be at the camp. My husband and I are members of the Redeemed Christian Church of God, and it's a convention. So we have been in the camp since Sunday, and we'll be there until the weekend. So here is this pastor's wife that managed to find a way to come out just because I have always looked at the issue of women development as so important. We are in a race against time to ensure that as many of our women as possible optimize their potentials. And so it is my delight. Chinenye was such, oh my God, she was a case on me. Because I run a crazy schedule, but then, some people know how to break all the boundaries of that schedule, which takes about 6 months to find an opening. And she really targeted it. So there was no way I could say you fell short of time. So here we are today, and I'm doing all of this. I'm trying to be a comic so that the presentation would be ready. And if I succeed in making you laugh, then you know that you must come to my comic show. So once the presentation is ready, I would love to, dive deep into the conversation. But just as a way of framing the context, I want to really congratulate the Society of Petroleum Engineers for ensuring that their program on the gender inclusion, gender diversity topics are not marginal programs. A lot of the times, organizations say, oh, we also care about the women in our profession. And then they just attach some marginal program that's attended by only women to the main event. But I can see with the presence of your male colleagues that we're not just talking amongst ourselves, are we? Okay, so it is with great joy that I crown every one of you man that attended this event today an honorary woman. And and I dare say to you that you now belong to the global network of he for she. So when you get home, you tell your wife, I just got a new certificate, and, and she would be very pleased with you indeed. The topic that I have been asked to focus on, perhaps to set the ground for the very technical talk that our dear sister Funke Opeke, I am so fond of you, Funke, and I never stop saying this. She saw a path that no one had traveled, and she laid a trail. And we must honor those kinds of people amongst us. So Funke, what a pleasure to be on this with you again. And to all these leaders, Ibiemi, how can I forget? Ibiemi and Sholakpe, and oh my goodness, these women are just something else. They are as fierce as you can imagine. And I love women who are fierce, because we need that fierceness for the kind of problems that we must solve. Our problems are too deep for us to be tepid. We can't afford tepidness. So I celebrate all these women, and of course the men who are sitting on this panel today. Idris and Akim, I celebrate you for joining us. We're discussing breaking your inner boundaries, excellence through self-actualization. And this is presented at the Women Development Program of the Society of Petroleum Engineers of Nigeria. And it is within the broader context of your topic for this annual meeting, which says artificial intelligence, big data, and mobile technology changing the future of the energy industry. And in my presentation, which appears not to be coming up that quickly, I do take you through the number of things that show us clearly that we're in the age of the fourth industrial revolution, and that it is about the AIs, the blockchain technologies, the AVs, the RVs. It is about the data, big data, simulation science, Internet of Things. It is about deep machine learning and all of these things that you in this very important sector of the economy know all about. And that in this era of machine learning, of the algorithms that enable us to see things that were with us, but we never really saw. We're able to connect the dots better. And that makes a big difference in the level of efficiency that the world is running on. And so that for everyone, individuals, families, communities, businesses, and the nation state is an entirely different world. In the world of economic policy, we would say that the economic structure of the world is undergoing fundamental shifts. That's the reason why you can call it a revolution, the fourth in its wake. And here we are as Africans, not having been part of the first industrial revolution, not having been part of the second one, the first one, being the agrarian revolution. Mr. Moderator, were we able to solve the problem? Okay, good. So we were not part of the agrarian revolution. We were not part of the industrial revolution. The third revolution is, of course, the one that I was celebrating Funke Okpeke for, the fact that the ICT revolution, the continent, then came onto a revolution, actually. And part of the reason that one looks at it and we consider it a revolution is that it's actually the time when a continent went from having just about 20 million telephone lines to today's almost 1 billion telephone lines. That is significant quantum leap. And that's an important part of the conversation we're having about what technology holds for all of us. And so, okay, excellent. So, is it a green one, did you say? Yeah? The big green one? Okay. Okay, good. So I have taken you through this. You have heard me talk about all of these 15 technologies that, really summarize what our next decade would be like. And then this is a quote. In 1996, Kodak was at the top of their game. How many of you took those Kodak pictures? Oh, we loved them. We loved them. And it was a $28 billion company with 140,000 employees that 20 years earlier had invented the digital camera, but failed to see the potential that it held. They failed to see it. By 2012, Kodak declared bankruptcy, effectively disrupted by the very technology that it had invented. They didn't understand what exponential growth would look like. What a big shame. So this is your topic, the intersection of information and energy technologies empowering adaptable across the spectrum of STEM. Women in both industries they face similar challenges. In fact, it is said today that AI is the new electricity. Do you believe that? Even if you didn't, it already is. The data show that it is. So data speaks. I love data a lot. Globally, women account for a far smaller share of employees in the oil and gas sector than they do in all other industries. As a matter of fact, globally, it is said that women are nearing the 50% mark if you looked at it collectively. But when you look at specialized sectors like oil and gas, it is really appalling. And so the Boston Consulting Group, in a recent work, showed that the number is 20% in your sector, and that the management level, it drops to 17%. Imagine what the data would be for Nigeria if we invested in generating it. It would be far worse, as we can extrapolate from all other things. The data for women in tech is also similarly appalling. It mirrors this less than 20% broadly, and about 15% at the management level. Both industries, alongside the overall STEM sector, require multiple, multi-sectoral, and multi-stakeholders deliberate and intentional strategies for closing the gap, and it's a big one, between 80% of men and 20% of women. This is not a guilt trip. I see some of the men sitting uncomfortably, but but I saw on the faces of a few of them, what's wrong with that? You are what is wrong with that. Because we need you to be worried about numbers like that. Those kinds of numbers don't work anymore. So this is what you said I should look at. Breaking your inner boundaries, excellence through self-actualization. And so I said that barriers that limit women in the workplace are generally similar across industries, and they are of two broad categories. So you have external barriers and you have the internal barriers. And then I go on to talk about the external barriers, and some of you who are in the workplace can recognize this. Unfair recruitment process, male-oriented corporate culture, paternalism coming out of a patriarchal order in society, allegations of reverse discrimination, sexual harassment, different standards for women and men, disparities in the distribution of high-quality job assignments, salary discrepancies based on one sex, salary failure of corporations to accommodate work-family issues, difficulty for women to advance into management due to male stereotyping and preconceptions of exclusion from informal networks. So I said that the external barriers require third-party intervention. They require the exercise of power, authority that is appropriate for the kind of action that would remove the barriers on the part of the progress of the women in the workplace. Now, these are not the kinds of things that you do as a matter of sentiment. No. If you did it as a matter of sentiment, what you would do is hire one or two women and put them up as the faces of the company, being consistent with gender inclusion. That would be pitiful, because clearly that is not a very strong and analytical basis for taking the kind of measures that are necessary to be a really great company with prospects into the future. So I then talk about the internal barriers, and I say, as a matter of urgency, addressing the internal barriers is as important as addressing the external barriers. And these barriers, they are the ones that are self-imposed and endogenous. They are in the person, and to each person, whether they be male or female. What's that famous cliche that says, if you think you can, and if you think you can't, you can't, right? It applies to male and female, right? So it says that these barriers, therefore, may either be the easiest set of barriers to remove or the toughest. It's, somebody, third party, can remove certain things for you. But if you are the problem and you are determined not to solve the problem, what's going to happen? Nothing's going to happen. I am known for always saying to people, you cannot solve a problem that you have not taken ownership of. You haven't owned it. You haven't admitted that it exists. How are you going to solve it? You know? Then I said that in connecting the dots of the big program that you have called for, that is your annual meeting theme, the technical aspect of our discussion today that Funke will be taking on, and then the topic that you've given me, what I came to is that this session really is about taking personal responsibility as a woman in the field of engineering and working in the energy sector to ready yourself for excellence in the age of disruptive technologies. Does that make sense? Come on, guys. Does that make sense? No, you're not guys, you're gals. You know, so here's a quote. It says that all the significant battles are waged within the self. The significant battles. So some of you that think that the most important battle is outside, once you have won against yourself, fighting against what you should do and be able to do, you will win the battles out there. So a woman in the field of engineering cannot by any standard be considered to be lacking in agency, where we define agency from the social sciences perspective as being voice, the existence of voice and power. Because education gives that to you. So posting superior performances through displaying extreme brilliance in setting and achieving a self-determined goal or purpose, or one to which they have committed, should be natural to a woman who has gone through the arduous work of graduating as an engineer from a university. You know what it takes to graduate as an engineer, regardless of whether you're male or female. It takes a lot of work. So we cannot say that, oh, gathered in this room today are women who lack agency. That's going to be tough. That's almost like an oxymoron. That an engineer, a woman who is an engineer, lacks agency. You know, so these are the things that I said are the basis. When you see value in what you do, I think I jumped something that I wanted to explain. You said about aspiring to excellence. And I said, well, it's important to know whether our definition of excellence, fits into the way that I look at it. I look at it as the quality of being outstanding, being distinguished, and thus posting superior performances through displaying extreme brilliance in setting and achieving a self-determined goal or purpose, or one to which we have committed ourselves. And so to pursue excellence, I say that you have to have a sense of the 10 or so things that I have up there, where you see value in the things you do, the vision, the mission that you're pursuing. You're not just somebody waking up in the morning and doing what the world tells you to do. No. And then, you risk failure by committing to letting fear be your motivator. Fear motivates you. It doesn't take you down. What you're afraid of is what pushes you to do something. And then you work hard. You really work hard. There's nobody who's going to say, hey, they are being nice to you. No, you work hard. You work hard. You're productive. You expand. You're not one of those, excellence is not those who say, well, just manage it. Just manage it. Manage what? What are you managing? Excellence is about excellence. You're not signed on to the mediocrity syndrome that has become the acceptable culture of our society. Why should you? You know, let people say, your own is too much. It's okay. It's okay. It's okay. You know, consistency. Be known for your consistency. You know, I grew up with a dad who said to me that integrity is not complete until it is consistent. I can have situational integrity in the morning and lack of it in the afternoon. Integrity in church and outside of church, none. Integrity at home and outside of home, no integrity. No, integrity is not, there's something that defines integrity. It's whole, right? So once there is a speck out of it, it's no longer integrity. Unfortunately, we're not living in a society where people define integrity to levels of thresholds. So there are some people who have integrity where the amount concerned is 50 million. As soon as it goes to 500 million, they will wave goodbye to integrity. That's not integrity. That's not integrity. Integrity is totally oblivious, completely impervious to what quality of stuff you put on the table, asking the person to negotiate away their integrity for it. No, it doesn't matter what it is. You're not ready to trade off your integrity. It doesn't matter what the price is. So consistency, that's part of that excellence. Then passionate. You know, when people say to me, oh, you're so passionate, I say I'm not passionate enough. I want to be more passionate. I don't want anything to stand in my way. You know, got to be passionate. You have to believe in something and be prepared to lay down for it. Passionate. Maintain self-respect. You know, self-respect. There are just certain things that I find infra-dig and I will not be part of it. That's self-respect. Just infra-digmatum. Not to be associated with you. You know, so maintain self-respect. Keep things in balance. Keep things in balance. Nurture relationships. I was discussing earlier and I said, you know, so a certain gentleman friend that I made here was saying something about the fact that men shouldn't have wives and then expect that after all the investment in them, they would just marry them and then their business would be to stay at home. If that is not the woman's informed choice. Because some women make the informed choice of being homemakers for the period that they want to stay with children totally, and they're giving all of their time and attention to it because they believe that some analysis have shown that the rate of time that you're spending in that kind of a way can make a difference. It depends on what informs that choice. But to simply say that you're a man and because of your very fragile ego, you're just going to sit on a woman's potentials, you should be sorry for yourself. Really. But then, part of what I keep saying to the young women is that it is totally sad, it's pathetic for a young woman to suddenly say that marriage is a bad thing because I must pursue my career. My goodness, you're just as bad as the man who is trying to sit on a woman's career. Because, you know, you can have a really great relationship in marriage and yet pursue a fantastic career. And I stand here to say that to you because that's really my life. I didn't have to trade off my marriage for career. Neither did I have to trade off my career for marriage. We have to figure a way to keep things in balance. Relationship, we must love relationship. We must be willing to lay down and to accept. And then seek feedback. An element of the pastor's wife is coming out, isn't it? Then it says seek feedback. Seek feedback. You can never go wrong when you love feedback. Huh? Don't be like certain governments in our continent that hate feedback. If you hate feedback, we will see your back. Then, so professional excellence is defined as strong values that on which every other thing is anchored. You have strong values, and then you've got technical and cognitive skills. Girl, you're fierce. Right? Yeah. You have the cognitive skills, you have the technical skills, and then all of these founded on a strong moral construct, values. You're ready to take on the moon. And those are the women that I see here today. The women in the world of engineering. You're ready. You're set to go. Respect for self, respect for others, and respect for the environment. Empathy. Empathy. I am tired of people thinking that it's a rat race, therefore smash everybody. And don't see that they are suffering. How can we live that kind of a life? It's not sustainable. All the things that we were blind to as a nation, they are the things biting us. Am I not correct? Yes. I remember when I said to the country that education had become a dysfunctionality, and that this dysfunction is not a dysfunction of just bring more money and throw at it. Because if you throw money at a dysfunction, you only simply have a well-funded dysfunction. You don't get a solution. So public school system is a disaster. And I said to the nation, we need to bring everybody's attention back to the state of the public school system. Why? Because more than 70% of the poor in the society, that's where they are. And if you leave them in failing public school systems, that means we're leaving them behind permanently. And someday, they're going to be the angry people that would make it impossible for you to have peace of mind. I said it to CEOs at the stock exchange. I said it to the committee of bankers. And at the end of the day, that's exactly what happened. So empathy, integrity, confidentiality, commitment. Okay. So why is it that women have self-imposed barriers, and how does it manifest? You have imposter syndrome, where a woman feels inadequate or undeserving of a certain threshold of career attainment just because they think they are not that good. Who told you you're not that good? What voice are you listening to? Hey, get thee behind me, Satan. I am good. That's what you need to say to yourself. Stop suffering the imposter syndrome. All right, ladies? You have to give yourself that validation. It would have been best if your dad gave it to you. Because once a dad validates a girl child, nobody can invalidate them. I was told by my dad that I was the best thing that happened. So when a person says to me, look at your nose, I'm like, it's the best nose in the world. That's what he told me. That's what he told me. You know, so the second part of it, bucket of the issue, fears of all kinds. Fear of failing. Men fail all the time. And nobody puts a nail to their heads. So it's okay to fail. I need you to understand that. The problem is to never then work at not failing. I am comfortable with failure. When I fail, I'm at my fiercest when I come back. Fear of taking risk, making tough decisions, setting high personal goals and standards, fear of recognition, fear of, don't let them recognize me so that somebody would not be unhappy with me. Hey? Wow. Fear of money, fear of success, fear of leading men and exercising authority and power. If your position comes with the need to lead men, you just have to be a human being. Be a human being. Don't go trying to prove a point. There are some kinds of female leaders I see and I say, oh, no wonder. You know what I mean? You lead men. You shouldn't therefore begin to think that you're the best thing that happens is sliced bread. No. You just be your professional self. Lead them in a professional way. Let them see your professionalism. Let them, in fact, turn around and say, my goodness, you're the best boss I ever had. I've led teams of men, very distinguished. I don't have to prove a point. A point has already been proven in the sense that I am the one leading. Fear of being undermined, fear of being misunderstood, fear of being denied external validation by various individuals and groups, fear of being lonely, fear of not being liked. Who told you that the world would like you? Just do what you need to do. Solve the world's problem. There are too many problems to solve. You're busy thinking of who likes you and who doesn't like you. You are a vain human being. Stop the vanity. Who cares? Just get it done. You're not living for yourself. Solve the self-absorption. It is self-absorption that makes us think, hey, they would not like me. Oh, no. It's okay. Don't like me. I'm going to solve the problem. Fear of being judged harshly. Fear of being compared unfavorably, especially with your male counterparts and sometimes your female peers. Fear of being considered over or too ambitious. So what I say to women is, leave the ambition issue and say to people that you're a woman with a vision. You're a woman with a vision. Fear of disagreement and conflict. The truth is that there would be disagreements and there would be conflicts. You just need to be brilliant in your mechanisms for resolving it. And there are some of the conflicts, once they touch on your values, you must not be ready to negotiate. I can negotiate my point of view with superior information presented me, but I am not prepared to negotiate my values. That's a deal breaker. My values. Fear of not being part of network or being left out of it, or even networking. Fear of public speaking and visibility. Some of you now, if we ask you to come and take this microphone, you put your hand on your head and say, they want to kill me. Oh. You must get rid of that fear. If a man can come up here and yarn dust and we clap for him, you can. Yarn. Go ahead and yarn. MC, just dream about 3 more minutes and I'll give you your mic, all right? Do I have about 3 minutes from... Oh, they even... You're being very generous. Fear of being lonely at the top. Even the men, when they are leaders, they know it can be lonely. It can be pretty lonely. But guess what? And now I enter into the mode of my being in Christ. It cannot be lonely when you have Christ in you. Honestly, it cannot be. Even when nobody is there, He's there. He's there. And then he says, fear of being defamed, slandered, libeled, and labeled. Okay, you called me so and so. Is that what I am? It's not. So, if that is a good name that you love, continue to call it. But I'm not the one answering. I'm not answering a name that does not belong to me. You know, you've got to process it. I'm talking to you. I'm trying to get through to you, young women, because I know what they do to stop you. They would call you all kinds of things. They would call you, they would fabricate stories that only existed in their wild imagination. And the way they would frame it, it would appear to have some truth to it. And when it is told you, it might even pierce your spirit. But guess what? They want to take you out. And you have to say to them, ain't no stopping us. And then the third bucket of self-imposed barriers that the young women and women more broadly deal with, resolving the tensions between career, marriage, and motherhood. Some women have sometimes had to make a personal choice to avoid professional excellence just because of family responsibilities. And there are ways out of this. There are ways out of this. So key antidotes quickly, because you're going to get this PowerPoint presentation. I will just rush through this, okay? So key antidotes. Frame your self-imposed barrier as a challenge that you are passionate to tackle. That self-imposed barrier, that thing that is within you, stopping you from taking that progression, you have to frame it as the greatest challenge that must be tackled. Prepare yourself to tackle your challenge by setting clear priorities and determining balance and trade-offs with family, with workplace, with friends and networks. Determine within you to adopt a growth mindset. Don't have a fixed mindset. This is what I am, this is what I'm supposed to be. No. Get the growth mindset. And I need you to research into this a little bit more so you see how you can do it. Be committed to frequent upgrade of your adaptive skills. In the age of the fourth industrial revolution, many people will become dinosaurs. Don't be one of them. Upgrade every time. Then set a clear goal for how far you wish to reach and a development program, your personal development program for filling your cognitive, technical, and value skills gaps that could hinder your attainment of progress. And assemble the 3 core resources you would need in order to achieve your progression. And I always say to people that when they talk about resources that they need to solve a problem, you immediately hear people say finance. No. In the hierarchy of order, your first resource for solving any problem in life is partnership. Partnerships. When you leverage support system, mentorship, coaching, confidence boosters, that is such phenomenal resource. Some of you ought to be making sure that Funke Okekwe doesn't live here without you hitching yourself to her wagon. You know, Solakpe, Ibiyemi, these are women that you need to have on your dashboard, because the number of years of solving problems that they've been through, their business is to just take you away from it. Because they've already, why fight the war they already won on your behalf? Then The number 2 resource is knowledge. Knowledge. Oh my God. Invest in it like there's no tomorrow. I make it a business to know. Oh, what betides me if I don't know something about something? I must know. Be innocently curious and be an avid learner. You learn, you unlearn, you relearn, you learn. And be exponential in knowing. Because we are in the age of exponentials. Know everything about your industry changes and anticipate the future of work in your industry. And then a distant number 3, finance. There is a gap. But once you figured out the first 2, frankly speaking, it becomes a lot easier to deal with number 3. And then F is to establish and authorize accountability for your progress or failure. We spoke about that already. So how do you start, my dear friends? Admit and own your self-imposed barrier. In other words, confront your demons today. Then second, submit and commit to an intensive professional psychosocial evaluation and diagnostics that can analytically uncover all of your self-constructed barriers. Find them. Then number 3 is decide to commence your program of personal development for professional excellence. Follow the outline of the key antidotes that I already spoke about. This is a quote by this guy. I respect this Ray Coswell. I know him, but I'm not a friend of his. But I know him. But he's smart beyond measure. And this is what he says. Our intuition about the future is linear. But the reality of information technology is exponential. And that makes a profound difference. If I take 30 steps linearly, I get to 30. But if I should take 30 steps exponentially, I get to 1 billion. Ladies, it's time to take exponential steps. I need you to do that. And for you who are in the HR unit, the managers of companies and all of that, I do say to you that diversity and inclusion agenda is very key, because equality of opportunity does matter a huge lot. At the turn of the millennium, the push to have better representation of women across sectors in society and in leadership has moved diversity and inclusion to the mainstream of global conversation. And here is what Kathy Engelbert had to say. There's such a great woman. In an age of exponential change, we need the power of diverse thinking. We cannot afford to leave any talent untapped. Untapped. Why are you wasting talent? You're just a bushman. When you think that because somebody is a woman, they shouldn't be sitting at your boardroom trying to solve problems with you. That's like bushman thinking, isn't it? Yeah. Do we still want bushmen? No. Bushmen, that was in those days. Today, all our men are great men. Let's hype them. Let's hype them. So this is a very important slide, and I'd like you to please pick it up, especially if you are a manager, you're running a company of your own or anything. These are things that are based on studies, and they are very, very strong. Companies with increased gender diversity have increased their rate, their return on investment, their ROI. A recent study by Morgan Stanley shows that more diverse workplaces deliver better returns and less volatility. A McKinsey report shows that companies in the top quartile of gender diversity are 15% more likely to outperform against industry medians. A gender diversity or equality consciousness is simply smart economics. That's what it is. Companies that desire to outperform in revenue and profitability are deliberate in assembling gender diverse teams. So equality of opportunity matters for the individual, for the family, for community, for business, for the country, and for the world at large. And corporates do a number of these things as part of their ways of supporting people to break through the self-imposed barriers. Take a look at it. These are very important programs. Companies have run them and they have made a difference. Even from this year's program, Debo, I think that a key thing is going to be that you could have a challenge where you're tracking the members of SPE, right? The Society of Petroleum Engineer, companies that are part of it, just tracking how they are developing their pipeline of leadership track for their women. That would be fantastic. A pipeline of leadership track for women, you know. Otherwise, because you see, nothing happens that's not made to happen. Nothing happens that is not made. So there's a deliberateness and an intentionality and a strategy behind getting a different outcome. All right, now, the rest of it, you will read when you pick this up. But I want to end on this note. The future is female.
Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. Let's just quickly go on to the next speaker. Ladies and gentlemen, Ms. Funke Okweke, CEO, Menwon.
Thank you very much. And I must say, coming after Dr. Ezekwesili, when she's such a powerful speaker, is no mean feat. But really, that was a great talk. Isn't she fierce? I think another round of applause. And it's great to have one of our own, a woman amongst us, who has risen to the global heights of commerce and is also such a voice of conscience and a social activist amongst us. You know, people go from the heights of Wall Street to the kind of position she held at the World Bank as vice president. You know, that's a job when after you've done everything at Goldman Sachs, you aspire to go to the World Bank and hold that level position. And at the same time, she's on the streets doing Bring Back Our Girls and being the conscience of our nation. We're so proud of her. She told us very much, and I said, what am I going to say here? But she told us very much the how as women and as companies and as a sector, we achieve improved gender balance, and not gender balance only, but improved return on investment. But what's the role of technology in the energy sector? And based on my experience, I'll see if I can move the slides. Do I have to point in a certain direction? Point it this way? Yeah? Okay, they have to unfreeze. All right. Still not there? Okay, I'll start talking. We can get it to move. Okay, that's fine. So really talking about technology and the energy sector. And I guess it's not curious that your society, the Society of Petroleum Engineers, decided to address the issue of technology with the fourth industrial revolution upon us, and also data analytics, artificial intelligence, machine learning, robotics starting to play a major role in the world today. Clearly, some of it is happening in your sector, but I think when I look around, when I look at some of the topics still that are being discussed, when I look at net outcomes, I think this is a sector that is still lagging, certainly in our part of the world, in the adoption of such technologies. What do we see? I mean, and especially when we put it in context of the Nigerian economy. The energy sector is quite innovative. And yes, there's adoption of digital technology, because in our lives all around us, the technology, whether we like it or not, be it mobile phones, be it computers, be it personal assistants, be it our usage of artificial intelligence in simple things like Google Maps and how we get from place to place, is becoming a part of how we live our daily lives. But the realities in our region versus the other parts of the world suggest we continue to lag behind. I heard someone mention earlier, and I think it's been said at this session, that we now have globally more things connected than we have people connected. So as of 2017, I believe there were more than 8.7 billion devices connected, or things connected, which is certainly more than the number of people we have globally. In our region, there's some hiccups because we're still working on getting people connected. And when we look at that ratio, the ratio of things connected to people connected in advanced economies are multiples of 1. And in our region, it is indeed the reverse. So what are the hiccups we see? Slowness in technology adoption, open standards and interoperability, government policies sometimes not helping, and not really advancing the cause or the ability to rapidly advance the technologies. New threats, and in an industry like the oil and gas sector, in an economy like ours, particular concerns about cyber attacks, lack of education and skills to fully take on this technology, and to implement and drive our businesses. And so what we see is, with the oil and gas sector being particularly conservative, that the rate of adoption of some of these newer technologies actually lags other sectors that are also commercially driven in our economy. And a good one that I would use an example is the financial sector. So if we look at the Nigerian finance sector, the banking sector, transactions over the past 10 years, and the changes that have taken place, and we look at the oil and gas sector, I think clearly we can see that the rate of adoption of technology in your sector, which curiously is a lot more conservative than the people who are moving all our money, and on which even the oil and gas sector is dependent to function efficiently, is indeed much slower. So what and how do we go about changing that? And I really believe that digital skills, the openness to new ways of doing things, I think Dr. Ezekwesili told us a lot about the how to do that, are really the key to transformation and to improved competitiveness of the energy sector. And really, that's what the fourth industrial revolution is all about. So what are the things, and how are those things going to affect us in the 21st century? I think of the oil and gas sector, and it's a lot about measurements, manual data analysis. Yes, so some of it may be computational now, but not fully relying on machines to make the decision. strong process management skills. But in the future, all the processes are going to be automated. The robots are going to move things around. You don't need to physically turn those machines or those bolts. The manual intensity that used to pervade your sector is all going to be driven by machines. You're going to tell it to move an inch, or to move a foot, or to go find, or to go fetch, or to open up, or to close. And the data that you interpret is what's going to tell you exactly how to interact with those things. Investments in advanced economies, in digital electricity infrastructure, in digital infrastructure, in a lot of sectors, is already as high as investment in the actual infrastructure itself. So one of the things we say is Nigeria has a lot of gas. Managing the gas and translating our gas, which is so prolific, into energy is something that we've really struggled with. But part of it is a lot of that investment in most parts of the world is really about the intelligence to manage that infrastructure. And that's a rate of investment that's taking place in other parts of the world. How is that translating, and what does that really mean? It means, if you look at this chart from the left-hand side, the kind of skills that people are putting to work in the energy sector, you're going from highly physical and manual to really technologically driven programming and AI and digital skills on the right-hand side. So you can see that general equipment operation and navigation, inspection and monitoring, all those things that used to be done manually, and to be honest, which probably lent itself a little bit more or better to our men folk, are shrinking. And what is growing are things that are more technologically driven, that have to do with data analysis and interpretation, cognitive skills, which are an area that women clearly have no disadvantage. I don't want to say we may actually have an advantage based on very strong intuition, more than some of our men folks, and ability to make decisions and program on the right-hand side. So it's not a question that jobs are going to be lost, and around the globe there's the anxiety about artificial intelligence. And if we look at the United States, which is generating the most wealth from the advances in technology today, they also have record low unemployment numbers. So clearly, the advancement of these technologies does not reduce, in absolute fact, the number of jobs. What it does is it changes the nature of the jobs. And what we see is the new kinds of jobs being created do not have the same kind of, men do not have the same kind of inherent advantage that they had when we were dealing with the industrial age, when you were operating large machines or factories, or the way that drills used to be managed in the past. I think we were at lunch and there was some discussion about a tree, and we were being told how it was much smaller and smarter than it used to be in the past. So clearly, manual is making way for smart. If manual is indeed making way for smart, then there's a real opportunity for us women. And quoting McKinsey, it says, if women in every country played an identical role in the market to what our men folk are currently doing, then as much as $28 trillion will be added to the global economy. So there is a huge opportunity, not just for women, but for our economies, for our businesses, for our countries at large, by women being able to play a more active role and having the right skills and capacity to do what is required to participate more fully in our 21st century economy. How do women currently fare? And what do we see in terms of women empowerment with technology. The reality is we still lag behind. Fewer of us are online, it is estimated, 250 million out of the 2 to 3 billion online. Less women are online. So when you translate, that's about 20% less women online than men folks. 35% of STEM science students are women globally. And when you translate that, as students, female students tend to progress by the time they get to tertiary institutions, those numbers start falling off. When you get into careers, those numbers fall off even faster as women make career and family choices, as Dr. Ezekwesili said. Now, when we look at the world of tech, which I'm very much a part of, too many times all around, all you see are men. You know, the big app companies, the ones who are creating the billions, are being led, and the code is being authored by men. But we know that these jobs in tech pay higher, and women who also work in tech earn higher incomes. So the challenge, and I think the opportunity for women in the energy industry, which is yet to fully transform, especially in our society, is for those women to catapult themselves to the top by taking advantage of digital skills and digital learning that is available, because the jobs that are going to be available in the future are not the same manual intensive kind of jobs. They're going to be knowledge, digital driven jobs, and our women have a role to play in making that happen. When you look around today, you know, we talk about Nigeria, we talk about the absence of jobs. The reality is there is shortage of skilled labor globally for these digital jobs that are fast developing. Over 90%, and I looked at statistic of jobs worldwide already have a digital component, and most jobs will soon require sophisticated digital skills. There's no kind of formal job you have, even in Nigeria today, where you're not either sending a message over a mobile phone, you're not making a payment, or you're not being paid, or you're not being notified, and it goes on to bookings. Even if you're a taxi driver, if you want to be efficient these days, you better be signed up for Uber or Bolt or one of the other services. If you're selling, if you want to reach a wider market, you're advertising on Instagram. Not to talk about the way large businesses deal with their suppliers, with our ERP systems and always connected, and real-time transactions and placement of orders or requests even within our various companies. So this digital skills and this rapid digitization that's taking place around the world, I think presents an opportunity for women. Certainly it has presented an opportunity for me, trained as an electrical engineer, and launching a company to build infrastructure to further that. And the other good thing, and when I speak to young women about the opportunities in technology, is, you know, digital skills are really powerful. And one of the good things is, you know, with engineering or any of these, you're coming up with a solution. When you come up with that solution, it's deterministic. You know, the code either works or it doesn't work. The machine that you programmed either does what you asked it to do, or it doesn't do what you told it to do. And so for women, in terms of career opportunities and the potential, working with digital skills actually gives you the opportunity to have objective evaluation of your contribution. And such objective evaluation gives you a lot of flexibility. So you have the skills. Nobody cares if you write the program from your bedroom after the children go to sleep at night, Sunday afternoon when you've done all your chores. As long as your program works, you can compete with a guy who's in the office from 6 to 6 p.m. And so as long as the design plays out when you go to implement it, your work speaks for itself. And so, digital skills are such a strong enabler in terms of careers that it's a surprise that a lot of women actually shy from it, because ultimately it's such an empowering tool. And the other thing we certainly notice is when you look at the Nigerian oil and gas industry, a lot of the early, you could say the first generation is kind of aging and retiring, and new technology has to come in. I was having a discussion with Madame over lunch, and she was talking about some of the investment decisions and the cost of technology. And clearly, there's new technology being developed in your industry that's digital and smart. That's what's going to be applied to open up the fields and production in the future. So clearly, there is a role for digital in the energy sector for the women who are members of the Society of Petroleum Engineers. Am I frozen again? Well, what are the limitations? Not enough of us women are going into, all right, I give up. Not enough of us women are going into science and technology or engineering careers. Okay, we're finally there. We do not have relevant knowledge and skills, and we need to educate ourselves. I think the previous talk just really talked a lot about the how. Social cultural perceptions and stereotypes. We think engineering, you think of, oh, if I do that, then I have to go on the rig, or I have to go for some time, so I really cannot participate at the leading edge of that industry, and I would rather go into some softer area. Lack of female role models and underrepresentation within senior roles. And I've heard numbers like 20%, but as you go higher, the air certainly gets a lot thinner. And then work-life balance issues. It's a gap that can be closed, that is being closed in other parts of the world. And some of the things and ideas, digital literacy and exposure, encouraging participation. There are a lot of programs in the oil and gas industry. I think Dr. Ezekwesili challenged SPE to adopt some programs to measure the progress of women. A lot of the scholarship programs, some are specifically targeted towards women. I think we need to see more gender balance in terms of some of those mentoring programs. More female role models, a lot of programs. If each woman thought to bring a couple of women along with them and mentor them specifically, that would pave a way for others to follow. Skills development and capacity building, which in your sector, you have a lot of access to tools that would enable that. Networking, and it's fantastic to see the number of women we have here, but also very good to see all the men who are supporting us in the room. And also, last but not least, we would like the government policies to come along and further empower and enable women in our society. The thing is, the technology is there. For those who are not afforded the opportunity, there's a lot of self-help. Some of the best programmers and startups are founded by people who have learned programming on YouTube. And today's technology, you don't even have to wait for YouTube. There are all kinds of programs available to provide that learning and access to world-class skills. Bringing women into the industry, I think it's not going to happen in the traditional way. It's going to happen by acquisition of the digital skills that enable women to apply knowledge to make decisions. It is the future of the industry. It is the future of the world. It is fast shaping everything around us, and the energy industry, like others in Nigeria, in finance, in e-commerce, as we're saying in the health sector, starting to appear, has no choice but to adapt and catch up and have women play a leading role in that. Thank you very much.
So we'll move on now to Hakeem, representing Michelle Elegbe, Divisional CEO of InterSwitch. Let's welcome him, please.
Thank you. Yes, I will. Thank you. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. So my presentation is going to be a gender-neutral presentation. And I say that because I think what I'm going to talk about is relevant both to the men and the women in this room. What I'm going to try and do for the next 15 minutes is, one, to try and dispel some of the misconceptions that we have. Two, I'm going to try and engage you around technology and mobile technology and the impact it will have not only on the industry that you serve, but on your lives. And then finally, I'm going to try and challenge each and every one of us towards what needs to happen for us to see the future that we desire. Some of the comments that I've had from people as we talk about mobile technology, digital transformation, I hear people tell me that is not true. Nothing is really happening. I particularly hear that in oil and gas, that our industry is not ready for transformation. The second thing I hear is that it will not impact me. It will not affect me. Then I also hear from a lot of people who have crossed the first two barriers, because if you're thinking like I will prove that to you today. So people who believe that this is happening in our industry, those who believe that it will impact me, it comes to fear, with fear. So what am I going to do? How do I transform myself to the future that is coming? Will I still be relevant? Can I still do a job? Or will artificial intelligence and technology come and take my job? Well, the truth is this. Unless you adapt or change, then that will become a self-fulfilling prophecy, because the jobs will change into the future, and if you do not change your skill sets, then indeed you will become irrelevant. So the topic that I'm speaking to is beyond entertainment, mobile technology as a platform for business advancement. And when I started thinking about what qualifies me to talk about this topic to a room full of petroleum engineers and oil industry professionals and women, I realized that maybe there are three things in my history that gives me the right to stand here and talk to you guys. Number one is that this is my alma mater. My career started in oil and gas. Debo mentioned earlier that one of the speakers was his trainee. I'm that I'm that one. So I worked with Debo for several years as a trainee in the oil and gas industry. And I've evolved that and gone on to do a lot of other things. I have co-founded the company that has become InterSwitch today. I have gone on to lead not only the technology and innovation part of that business, but I continue to drive the innovation around what the company is doing in payments technology, artificial intelligence, robotics, process automation, as well as blockchain. So I think I'm qualified to talk a little bit about that. The other part of my history that might qualify me to talk about this is I'm a father of 3 girls. So my house is me and 4 women. And I think that puts me in a unique position, I think, to be comfortable here. And my house at dinner would look a little bit like something on the right. Not because of the people at the table, but the fact that everyone is usually almost always on their mobile device. Yeah? And I believe some of you can relate. Even in meetings, even in this conference over the last few hours, I think many of us have spent a lot of time on our mobile phone. The truth is, mobile is become or has become a center of our lives. Yeah? Whether that is for entertainment, which is the traditional use, or whether it's for business. And reality is that that's not likely to change. And the challenge for us, technology practitioners, really is a picture that looks like this. 15 years ago, if somebody had said BlackBerry, many of us would think of a fruit. If anyone had said iPhone, that device did not exist. Twitter was the sound that a bird makes. Yeah? Cloud, something high in the sky, in blue color. 4G was the number on the parking space. LinkedIn was people probably locked up in a Siberian prison and chained together. And then if somebody wrote Skype on a piece of paper, you would think it was a typographical error. So that's our reality 15 years ago. So you begin to think about it and wonder, what is going to happen in the next 15 years? I had a slide, but I took it away for time. And it showed that 25 years ago, the largest companies in the world by market capitalization were Mobil, Shell, BP, and many of the energy companies. They're still there. But the 3 largest companies in the world today are Amazon, Alphabet or Google, and companies like that. These companies did not exist 20 years ago. And something is underpinning why they have grown and scaled and transformed themselves. And one of the challenges that I think the oil and gas sector faces is that the industry itself and the practitioners in those industries have to evolve or die. Now, digital is making disruption happen, and it's happening across industries, not just oil and gas. In my industry in particular, some of you would remember 15, 20 years ago, if you wanted to send money from Lagos to Kaduna, you would write a check, and it would take 3 days. Actually, it's 3 days within Lagos, yeah? I think it was 5 to 7 days if it was up country. Today, you can do that transfer in less than 3 minutes, and that includes the time to think about it, type your instructions, send it, and receive confirmation. This is happening in every industry, not just mine. I've just used this as an example because I think most of you will be able to relate. So companies are transforming their business. They're cutting customer service times by a factor of 10. They're producing products 10 times faster using digital transformation, and people are getting more done with far less effort. And they are doing that with staff, with people. So when people start to say, my job is not threatened, the truth is companies of today are doing far more with far less. But they're still recruiting more people. In my last slide, I'll talk about the kind of people that they're recruiting and the kind of skills that you need to have to stay relevant in the future. Mobile technology is particularly powerful, not in itself, but because of what it encompasses in terms of what it's able to carry and deliver, right? So mobile technologies has encompassed a wide range of disruptive technologies that has happened over the last 10 years. In there, internet, obviously, we talked about the internet revolution, mobile phones, cloud computing, smartphones with apps, data, and digital services in between that. But it's also beginning to encompass the power inherent in some of the technologies that are driving the future. Artificial intelligence, robotics, Internet of Things. All of that is being consolidated into that small device that sits in your hands. And that is why the mobile technology is so powerful. Okay. I've lost my controller. So what has happened? Mobile has transformed the way we do communication. Yeah? From, some of you might remember our dial-up phones to smartphones, iOS, Android. It has transformed computing from your fixed desktop computers to a bunch of apps sitting on a mobile phone. It has transformed the way we collaborate, from village meetings requiring face-to-face engagement to Skype calls across geographies and countries. And the reason why this is so is because of the apps that have been built to connect to a digital backend that is now in the palm of your hands. And I've used a few examples here, whether it's commerce, payments and financial services, entertainment, religious devotion, mobility, broadcast media, even automation, and business improvement. People have gone out there and built applications on smartphones that allows you to do pretty much everything or anything that you can do today. And that cuts across so many industries. One of the ones that I'm particularly excited about, which I'm studying at the moment, is social commerce, where in Nigeria, more than 70% of the accounts on Instagram are doing some kind of business or the other. And our initial studies show that more than 60% of those people, at least in Nigeria, are women. Now, two things come out of this. I'm not trying to say women are traders. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying that women telling themselves that I cannot leverage technology to transform the way I do business or the way I interact with others is a lie that, we all tell to ourselves, right? If this is happening today, what can be done in oil and gas? And how can the men and ladies in this room be at the forefront of driving what's coming in the future? Two slides, two or three slides, and then I'm done. So what are the opportunities that abound in mobile technology in the sector, oil and gas? One, obviously, is business applications. Can we build mobile applications or mobile solutions that can create business information management and communication? Some of us use this already, whether you're using Skype calls for video conferences or just for sending instructions, approving workflows on your mobile device or so on and so forth. Now, somebody made a comment earlier, many of these technologies are built abroad. That is true. But there is a growing number of Nigerians, developers, software engineers, young people who are building technology applications that are solving Nigerian problems and changing the way we do things. In my sector, they are called fintechs. In this sector, I think there is a need to drive that kind of innovation and development in the sector. The second thing that I'll talk about is learning and development. Training delivery. I remember when I was in oil and gas, it was always a premium to travel to Texas to go and get training. One, that's where the skills were, that's where the knowledge was. But today that's no longer true. Most of the training that we deliver into our business today can be done remotely, can be done online. Online universities, online study groups, workflows. We still want to travel and get ESTA code, don't get me wrong. But by all means, the skills development and the skill needs don't have to be tied to traveling out of the country. Supporting customers or engineers in the field, creating new business, creating new opportunities around business, mobile commerce, social commerce, virtual counseling, technology and innovation around app development to solve specific problems, artificial intelligence and robotics. Now, one of the downsides, and I think Funke spoke to it very briefly, of technology and mobile technology is cybersecurity and defense. There are opportunities for Nigerian entrepreneurs and Nigerian workers to build solutions to address this problem. I know because when we started InterSwitch, there was a mindset globally that Nigeria was the country that created or generated the most fraud in the world. And we had to be deliberate about building our own technology solutions to deal with the fraud problem. Several years ago, Visa did a study, one of the global brands, and said that on the African continent and in most parts of Europe, Nigeria had the lowest fraud to sales ratio anywhere in the world. And that is because a group of young Nigerians like you decided to take that problem and tackle it. I went on to Google, the App Store, to find out, am I building castles in the air? Am I dreaming of something that does not even exist? And just a cursory survey, I found 4 apps that are already on Play Store today. RigZone. I remember when I used to work with Debo, and he would give me a piece of paper called a tally book. And I'll be noting how many, what's it called now? How many tubes, or what do they call this thing? Yeah, are going into the well as we're running it. I'll be recording it. Yeah, so somebody has built an app that allows you to track that information. Yeah, probably tag it with information that is on each tube that's going in and recording that back into a database so you have real-time updates. The second one it's a drilling toolbox. Yeah? It provides information around the drilling speed, density, distance, and updates that information straight back to the database. The third one, which I think might have been my favorite, because I remember my first few days on the job, and people will be referring to terms of tools that I had no idea what they meant. Yeah? This seems like some kind of encyclopedia, Wikipedia, for oil industry terminology, equipment, tools. So what is a coke drum? I have no idea, but I can find out just by going to this app and reading it. And then the last one is just a calculator that helps you do some of those calculations that you have to do on the field. Now, what are the skill sets that you need for the future? What are the mobile technology demands, and what skill sets do we need to develop for that? I think top of the list is what Dr. Obi has shared with us. Really, it's internal. It's self-confidence, is the belief that you can do it, whether because you are a Nigerian or because you are a human being, or whether because you're a man or you're a woman. That's the first thing. The second thing, and I think is probably the most underrated skill, is collaboration, the soft skills, the social skills, the ability to work in teams, work in groups, and create magic by working together. But then again, there are more technical skills. And I will end with this slide. Top on that list is science, technology, engineering, and maths. In Nigeria, less than 20% of the students who graduate from science are women. And that is a problem from the beginning. And I think Funke spoke about it as well. We need to deliberately send our girls to science school, to learn technology, to learn engineering, to learn maths. But even if they don't, that doesn't mean that they cannot play or perform in the new digital future. Why? Because many of the people that, I interview maybe hundreds of people every year. InterSwitch recruits or probably has a staff strength of about 600. About half of that are engineers. More than 90% of those people didn't learn software engineering in school. They developed it by themselves. The resources are online. You can go, you can learn it, you can develop the skills. All you need is to be analytical and technical. The third one, which is the highest paying job in technology today, not engineering, not developers, is UX and CX developers. People who design UX user experience and customer experience into the products and services that are built into the market. This is the job I'm hoping my daughter will do in the future. And the reason I say that is this. I read a study very recently that said most of the jobs today, that we see will not exist in 15 years' time. So I begin to ask myself, what will my daughter do when she comes out of college? And some of the jobs that you find that will always be in demand is designing user experience and customer experience. Data science, visualization, analytics. So one is the analytics part, one is the visualization part. Trying to make sense of data and creating a view of that business owners, business managers, and people can learn. Human capital. Human capital development and knowledge and talent management is crucial. So those of you in HR, your job is safe. Yeah, because we'll constantly be looking for talent and we're looking to keep them and manage them so that they don't all go to Canada and leave us. Digital marketing, absolutely crucial. Communicating via the social networks, communicating via the digital channels, transforming the way you communicate your information and your ideas to the rest of the world. Law. Yeah, I think this one is still a bit of debate, but I do believe that in the future, the battle will be around intellectual property and contracting, and that job will remain. And because cybersecurity will continue to be a problem, cybersecurity skills and professionals will always be in high demand. So these are the areas where you need to continue to build your skills, or if you have not started, start to build your skills as we transform into the digital future. And above all, relationships and account management will always be in high demand. So the challenge for us is this, all of us, men, women, and AI bots. How well are we positioned to take advantage of the opportunities that abound in a dynamic mobile-first economy? Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Hakeem. Can we give Hakeem another round of applause? Thank you, Hakeem. Okay, very quickly, I see that there are no questions yet for the panel. And as you are aware, Dr. Ezekwesili told us where she's coming from. She made the sacrifice to be here. Now, if she continues to wait, since she wants to go back to the camp, she just might as well sleep on the road. We all know what that road looks like in terms of traffic. So on behalf of our very own Dr. Ezekwesili, I would like to beg our indulgence that she would leave and continue to order things while the event will continue. So I want to appeal that will remain seated as she leaves. In fact, let me allow her appeal to us to remain seated while she leaves. Ma'am, can you please tell your people to remain seated as you leave?
It would be a hallmark of integrity for you to not leave because I left. So please do us the favor of listening to this wonderful panel. I really wish I could have stayed, but I must leave now. Otherwise, you know you Lagos people and your traffic. It's hard to navigate. So thank you so very much. God bless you. And I look forward to interacting with you sometime in the future.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. Please, very quickly, do a quick photo ops. Very quickly, do a quick photo ops. Council chair, come up, they'll bring it. OG, come up. Chine, you need to be here. Just she would leave, the panel will continue. And now while we're doing that, I would want Amina Dan Madami to please be on standby for 2 minutes because of how much time we need to redeem now. I hope you understand, ma'am. To talk to us about the feedback from the winners of 2018 Girls in STEM Leadership Awards. Can we celebrate Dr. Catherine Obi Ezekwesili one more time? Please remain seated. Remain seated. Please remain seated. We're done with the presentation. Okay, yes. With a tradition, we want to appreciate her for coming with the token of appreciation. Thank you very much. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. Okay, so distinguished ladies and gentlemen, as you know, the Women Development Program of SPE has been championing the cause of STEM in our institutions. Yesterday, we saw some of the winners, but today, we want to get the feedback from 2018 winners. Please welcome a member of the WDP, Amina Dan Madami, as she talks us through the next few minutes. After which, Madam BME will talk us through the panel session.
Thank you, Richmond. Good afternoon, ladies and honorary women. Okay, so first of all, I would like to commend SPE International and the Nigerian Council because they have a lot of initiatives to encourage female participation in the industry. International, we have the Women in Energy, and Nigeria Council, we have a special committee, Women Are Pride, and then we have the Women Development Program, all to encourage more female participation in the industry and to close the STEM gap. So part of that initiative was the Girl in STEM Leadership Award developed by the Nigeria Women Development to encourage females who are outstanding young girls from different universities who have shown leadership characteristics and high academic performance. So 6 girls were selected in 2018 last year, and they were given that GIS award. And they're here to tell us their story. And one amazing thing that came out of that was that amazing friendship, strong friendship blossomed out of it. Those 6 girls are best of friends now. They've been reaching out to each other, supporting each other. So sit back and listen to their feedback. Thank you very much.
A year ago, I met Rachel from one of the outreach at an orphanage home for girls I visited. And Rachel is a 5-year-old who hates mathematics. In her words, I absolutely hate science. And she reminded me a lot of myself. And it's very ironic how a child who once hated mathematics is now an ambassador for STEM and have won several awards of excellence. Permit me to proceed on existing protocol. My name is Atari Regina, and I'm here with my sister, Karen Oche. Notice I address her as my sister because that's what the Women Development Program has made us become good friends and, in fact, sisters. In 2018, the Girl in STEM, next slide. In 2018, the Girl in STEM Leadership Awards were given to 6 outstanding young ladies. Like Dr. Obi said, they are ladies that show true potential and possess commitment, dedication. They are very innovative and, of course, very intelligent. That's Hajara Kabiru from Nile University, Karen Oche, Atari Regina, myself from Ibinijan University, Rita from University of Uniben, Chemical Engineering, Jennifer and Emma Bong. as at 2018, when I received this award, I was an intern in Schlumberger, and I'm usually a very good volunteer. I volunteer for SPE, I represent my school and all that. But then this award was another level. It was the next level because it showed me that my work was not unseen. And then I moved on from being just an intern to being an ambassador. And then in Schlumberger, I made the Intern of the Year award at Anna Drill, Port Harcourt. From being Intern of the Year, I moved on to be the global finalist for intern competition in Schlumberger. I can see one of our representatives here. This was more drive. It propelled me more to work hard. And now I got this award from Nigerian Society of Engineers for my performance and also in recognition as the girl in STEM, giving me bragging rights as one of the best female students in STEM for a year. My colleagues have also performed very well because this is Karen, my sister. She presented her paper at the 2018 Naice. And then this is Hajara at ATC 2018 also presenting her paper. That is Rachel, mini Rachel in Port Harcourt, and that's me doing what I do best, which is work with kids and volunteer.
So all the girls in STEM, all the recipients of the awards have been very active in leadership activities. Ajara organized a 2-day conference at the Now University of Nigeria on life after graduation. Post the receipt of the award, I founded an NGO on cancer risk reduction. We've been able to conduct free cancer screenings for over 300 women. We've provided 25 women with free vaccines. The first shot. We are currently seeking sponsorship to make sure they complete the vaccine dosages. We've all also been involved in STEM and mentorship. We mentor young girls in coding. We go to schools, we talk to young people. I'm an ambassador for the Young Emerging Female Engineers. We also conduct online mentoring programs via SPE platforms individually. Rita conducted an online mentorship program at the University of Benin. Regina also conducted a WDP STEM development program at Ibenedion University. We've also, as ambassadors for the Women Development Program, we've been actively involved in SPE in our various school chapters and our various sections. We've conducted AL ambassadorial lecture programs where we go to schools to talk to younger folks in different schools. We volunteer for different foundations. Regina and Rita both volunteer for my foundation. We also volunteer for the Mathematics for Life Foundation. We've touched several lives post the receipt of the awards. The impact of the award on our lives. Generally, the award has impacted all of us in several positive ways. The first is the networking it brought. So we've gotten to a place where we have 6 strong, independent ladies, 6 bright minds working together as a team. And then we have the WDP committee supporting us. They've helped each and every one of us with my foundation, starting it off, sponsorship, with our projects, our final year projects, our plans for the future. It also made us understand that nothing goes unnoticed. When we received the award, we didn't know we didn't know we're going to get it. It was like submitting a feedback of our lives so far. It has also made us become very involved in STEM, being able to preach to young people that you can do it. Whatever you set your mind to achieve is actually possible. Each of us have identified our social roles in our communities, wherever we find ourselves. It's like just plant one of us there and then you have a growing system. We see the world becoming a better place with us in it, and we ask you to join us. Thank you.
So if you are a supporter or a sponsor of the WDP program for women in STEM, please be proud of yourself, for your money is being put to very good use. Appreciate our sponsors. And for the success they have achieved, give them more and give them many, many more. Thank you. So the session will continue now. Thank you for your patience so far. I'll yield it now to Madam Ibiyemi. Your mic is on the table there.
All right. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I think the time we've been waiting for is now. It's been an explosive afternoon, if you ask me. Just listening to Dr. Obi Ezekwesili, and you know, the first statement she started with was that we are in a race against time, and really, ladies and gentlemen, the future is here. And where are the women? Where are the women? Come on, let's call out. Where are the women? Okay, so we need to put some energy. We are here. You know, before now we say AI, artificial intelligence is the future. The future actually is here. Intelligence, and we are asking a question. Is it going to be a solution to the gender inequality that we have seen, you know, in the industry, especially in oil and gas? And you know, in doing some research for this session, I did see around 20% women in. Thank you. I understand the battery in that one will soon go off. Thanks for rescuing me on time. Okay, so 20% of women is what we have in the involvement of general, you know, actuarial science, artificial intelligence, and then there's been talks on this table around another 10-15% of the jobs are going to be lost at some point. And I like also the discussion around, you know, the courses and the professions that we know today. In another 2 decades, I guarantee you 50% of them are going to be obsolete. How do we prepare ourselves? And you know, I told a story at my morning session today about my younger son who wanted, so he says, he finished high school, so I asked him what he was going to study. He says robotics. So I said, okay. What does that mean? He said robotics engineering. I said, okay. Then the following day I called him. So if you finish this, your robotics engineering, where are you going to work? And then he went, mentioned a few companies in the US. I said, all right. So what if you are interested in living in Nigeria? His empathy, his disposition, and, you know, tailored him towards becoming a medical doctor. And he fell for it. And he entered university. I'm on a journey. Just give me 1 more minute. And then after a year, I went to, I was at this Sub-Saharan African conference about technology, being the technology manager in Houston. And after the first 2 or 3 speakers, it was my turn to speak. And then I started with this story I just told you. I think I just did my son a disservice. And after the talk it was a hall of about 100 people. And more than 30 people actually came to me to make them a promise that I was going to reopen the discussion with my son. So I flew from Houston to the state where he was and said, you know what, we need to talk. And then I said, I think I might have done something, you know. This your robotics thing, now I'm happy to support you. Let's look for the university where you can do it. I'm happy to do the transfer. I'm happy to make it happen, and blah, 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 blah. And he said, no, Mom, I'm fine. I said, no, please, really. I think I was wrong. I take responsibilities. He said, no, Mom, don't worry yourself. I actually love medicine. So I'm going to read medicine, then I will specialize in robotics medicine. I said, okay, case dismissed. So, ladies and gentlemen, that is my opening statement for this session. And I'll be going to Mr. Idris. Artificial intelligence. How do we do it? It's got to do with a whole lot of data. And you are the, just help me, Group Head Information Technology of Ohando. So I hear cyber attacks, So where do you see data in this whole space of what we've talked about?
Oh, thank you very much. Let me just make a comment about this whole gender inequality conversation. I want to apologize to all the women in the world on behalf of the men. I'm going somewhere. I am sure we men didn't create this problem. In fact, as a result of how sophisticated it is, one could argue that at some time in the past, it was created not by men. Not by men. But having said that, these are interesting times. AI is actually the most disruptive component of all the technologies that come you talk about when you talk about the whole industrial revolution. And it's really a way to unlock value from data. I was reading an interesting study in the Journal of Petroleum Technology, one of last year, and it said the petroleum industry has only managed to use 1% of the data it generates. So you can imagine the vast opportunity locked within our data. Now, AI will help you interrogate data, create patterns out of data that will help you make prescriptive recommendations to the entire A&P operations. In cybersecurity, we're already seeing how AI, machine learning, which is a huge component of AI, is already transforming how spam emails are detected, how the behavioral changes within an organization. So attacks, typically, when they happen, especially those sophisticated attacks, when they happen, it is based on the attack actors planting themselves in your system, learning about your data, and stealing your data. But with machine learning, all those type of behaviors that isn't the typical routine will be brought to the fore. Your data will be well interrogated by artificial intelligence, and you will begin to make interesting prescriptive type decisions as you go along.
Thank you very much. I think my next question will be for Ms. Sholakwe Amond. And I know you're the CEO of Impact Hub Lagos and 10 Talents Limited. And just looking at talent, so I see that today we're saying we have less than 20% women in the AI world, and then potential loss of job that is coming is probably going to be affecting more women than men because of the reskilling, retooling, and all the things that we need to do. Just looking at the talents, looking at the women in the room, what advice would you have for us to prepare ourselves for the future that is already at the door?
Okay, so thank you for the opportunity to be here today. I'm very excited, and I've learned a lot from all those who've spoken before me. So for me, I'm going to start with what I think are the actual specific opportunities for women beyond the more general opportunities that have been highlighted by Akeem, and then talk about what I think women need to do, as you've said, to be able to take advantage of this and to be better positioned. So I think for me, AI is particularly exciting, as is generally technology, blockchain, virtual reality, and all the other new technological advancements that are in our fourth industrial revolution, because they level the playing field. For me, I think that's the biggest thing. There's anonymity, as Mrs. Opeke had said. When you deliver the results, no one's going to really care whether you're male or female. We no longer be worried that we won't get the role because we're female. It's an open playing field for all of us. So for me, that's one of the most exciting things about it. We also have the opportunity to actually break those barriers. So as Mrs. Ezekwesili had talked about, the barriers, including the external ones and the self-imposed ones, AI gives us the opportunity to break those barriers in the things that we create. If I was reading this morning about Sweden, and Sweden has, they're working with a company to implement a recruitment fair bot. So what it does is, it basically interviews people, and it takes out the bias, because you answer a question and it's not because you're a man. It doesn't factor in the fact that you like football or you prefer to wear pink. It doesn't factor it into the skills that are required to do the job. So those are some of the advancements that AI can bring. And for me, those are the areas women should be looking to to actually develop solutions. So things that actually address the barriers that we face that are typically known and understood mainly by us because we're the victims of these biases and limitations. And those are the things that we need to be looking at as women. So in terms of what we need to do, I think the first thing is to take control now. What tends to happen when technology is introduced is those who are disadvantaged have a really quick and good opportunity to be able to leverage and come up to match those, because right now it's a relatively open playing field. There's a lot of uncertainty. There's a lot of knowledge to be created. There's the opportunity to create the standards in the industry, and this is the time when we need to step in there, not just as women, but as women of African descent, because we also know that there are challenges for people of color, and this also gives you opportunity for that. So, for example, with artificial intelligence, it's been shown that those who are using it, for example, to advance driverless technology, it's been shown that it's actually harder for a lot of the recognition tools to recognize Black people. They confuse us with animals, unfortunately. It's because we're not in that field. So the thing is, the more the AI is constantly learning. So the more it learns, the more it knows. But if we're not there, if we're not represented and it doesn't get to see us more, it's harder for it to figure out what is right. So we need to step in and make sure that we start to eliminate those biases. So I think taking control of the technology now, which means women need to get into AI, women need to get into blockchain, women need to get into virtual reality. A lot of those advances are still being pushed by men. We need to stop following and we need to start leading. I think.
Thank you. Thank you very much. And I think you already touched on my next question. So listening to Mr. Lawal, you talked about, interviewing hundreds of people like every year. And then I'm just thinking, so with artificial intelligence, it comes to a time when, so a company wants to recruit. I don't need to see the CEO. I don't need to talk to no one. I probably go online and then some robot, is the one asking the questions and I'm answering. And do you see that as a potential solution to the gender imbalance that we're talking about?
It is one solution, but I think the first thing that needs to be understood is, apart from the natural bias that has been talked about, people looking for people who like football, there are certain things in our recruitment process, even in our educational system, that build in an implicit bias against women. Some of the criteria that we set for what is excellence in education, what is excellence in the workplace, already has a certain level of implicit bias. And we need to go back and change the rules around what is right, what is good, what is excellent, and remove some of those biases. That needs to happen in our minds, because what is in our minds is what we bring out in software, or in engineering, or in AI, or in the information that we feed into artificial intelligence, based on which decisions of the future will then be taken. So I do believe that it starts first with understanding that there is implicit bias, and that those biases have to be eliminated in the development of the recruitment processes of the future.
Thank you. And one of the days I was driving to work, and I usually will drive to work with Jimmy Disu doing the news analysis. And he said something that was quite reflective. And he says, we are all in this rat race. But remember, even the winner of the rat race is still a rat. And for weeks now, and I'm like, really? Yeah, we win the rat race. But do I want to be a rat? And you know where that is leading me? It's leading me to ask Miss Funke Okpeke, but I don't know what your background is. And I'm sure a few women in the room will be wondering, I don't know what you studied in school. I don't know where you started your career from. But please, I'm eager to learn. I was going to connect with you after here, but then that would be very selfish, right? Thank you. Okay. So I want to know what your background is, where you started your career, and what gave you the boldness, really, and you're still doing more. And then I'm here feeling like a rat, even if I'm winning the rat race. Thank you.
No, I know I sat with you at lunch, and suddenly when you were telling me about the wells and the delivery integration and all the offshore work and all the offshore platforms, and trees and the improvement in engineering. I was equally awed, to see a Nigerian woman playing such a significant role. I did ask you about your background as well, geology, geophysics. So, I don't really think that's a rat. But, it's also about kind of making our lives better. And hopefully the rat race is not just about earning a living and making a livelihood, but also feeling that we're living lives of meaning and leadership and contribution and connection. And I was born in Ibadan, went to University of Ife, Queen's School, Ibadan, and then I studied electrical engineering. I wanted to study medicine. My dad tried to, my dad wanted me to study medicine. He tried to convince me, but I was stuck on engineering because I didn't want to dissect anything. And so I studied electrical engineering. And when I graduated, my only real experience with the oil and gas sector, I did my youth service with NNPC in the project engineering division. And then we were building pipelines and sensors and things on the, I think it was the Warri Kaduna pipeline. And but then after that, I went to graduate school. I got a master's in electrical engineering in New York, Columbia University, New York. And telecommunications industry was really changing. Data communications was coming into play. This was in the mid-80s. And then I pursued a career. Things were changing in Nigeria. I pursued a career in the US. And I really worked in ICT and communications in the US until 2005 when I returned to Nigeria. And when I was in grad school, I remember my professor saying, just like you said to your son with robotics, with all this stuff you're learning, you can't apply it in your country, Nigeria. And that stayed with me for a long time because it was so true. What I had learned in grad school, I could not apply because we didn't have those kind of networks in Nigeria. But by 2005, things were changing. Telecoms was liberalized. I met some of the leadership of MTN, and I came back to Nigeria as the chief technical officer of MTN. At that time, I was an executive director with Verizon Communications in New York. And so I came back, MTN. But even with MTN at that time, and even still now, we really have an infrastructure deficit relative to the advanced world and what I had experienced. And to be honest, it's a mix of private sector investment and public policy and public infrastructure. And so I felt, no country runs its commerce on just mobile networks. There's that plumbing behind it that we still don't have right as a country. And so I met the chairman of my company today, Mr. Paula Adeola, so the role of mentors, good mentors, who said, let's go try to privatize Nitel. It didn't work. He was kicked out, we were kicked out. But from that, I saw the critical need for infrastructure to facilitate the internet. And from my work at Verizon, I knew what was required, the critical piece of having fiber optics, having a submarine cable connecting Nigeria with the rest of the world. And with his support, because he certainly knows about money and raising capital, and my technical skills, we set out to see if we could close that gap, and that's what we did.
Thank you. And thank you so much. Thank you. And my next question actually is going to go to you. And I'm asking this question because, so for the honorary women, thank you for joining us. And we really, really appreciate your time here. No jokes. But this session is about the women, and hence this next question to Ms. Funke. So I hear from what you've said, I've heard, people that you have mentors that have mentored you, you have networking that you've, pulled on both your experience back in the US, in Nigeria. You have, people that are financiers that are able to sort of support you. And this question is not meant to demean women in any way. But where I see a lot of women is even when you have such ideas, you are brilliant, you have the ideas, You think you have people that can, work with you. You have sponsors. Then the harassment, but the thing starts to come. So I'm coming to your office because I have a brilliant idea. I can't do it alone. I know that you have the well without, and then I come. Then it begins with, oh, your hair is really nice. You really look cool. And then I just run away because, really, that's not why I'm there. How were you able to, we're in Nigeria. How were you able to navigate, really?
So I was the only female in my undergraduate engineering class at IFE. So I guess I've been used to being around males a lot and managing boundaries and expectations. And one thing I would say, and perhaps as I become more mature, if there's a guy who's misbehaved, I just move on. Other than government, what I've come to realize, other than government, there's no single one person that, and God, that is the ultimate determinant of your destiny. And so, I don't even, once I see it or I see some kind of funny, condescending language, you're trying to have a serious conversation and you're being social, I know we're not going to have a lot to talk about. So I quickly, rather than waste my time, because there's an opportunity cost to us as women for our time, to everybody. So if I spend 2 hours it's not going to go anywhere. Let me take my time back. Let me go invest it in something else. Go find somebody else who's going to be serious and have a serious conversation. So I would say that would be my advice to young women. Sometimes you may be able to influence and change people, but when you have a mission to accomplish, stay focused on your goal and just leave those people behind.
Absolutely. Thank you so very much. That's really, really important. And I'm coming back on to Mr. Musa now. And I just want to ask, so we've talked quite a lot about reskilling, retooling, virtual worker, and, being a data kind of person. Where do you see that going? How can we take advantage of it? In the morning session today, I was talking to a group of students and young graduates at the booth of my company, and one of the things they said is, yes, we are willing to learn, but we don't have $1,000 to pay for courses to learn coding. And what's the opportunity out there? What can companies and organizations like this do more for young women that really have the appetite to learn?
So technology always provides the opportunity to simplify learning. There are a lot of free courseware today, and what I will encourage SPE to do is to tap into those free courseware, create a specialized curriculum that speaks to the future of work and women as well. The company I work with, for example, has made intentional efforts to create like an academy where we train ourselves. So you have experts within us, trainers. SPE can also introduce that. There must be an anchor program. It is important that you have an anchor program that pushes your learning agenda forward, that will also have different type of initiatives around learning. It's going to be disruptive. Work will change tomorrow. Today we are seeing software robots do the work that we do faster. They don't have the emotions that we have. They augment human intelligence. As humans, we still need to make that whole deliberate effort towards reskilling ourselves, leveraging all the advancement in technologies that are out there. Learning will be the constant. If you don't learn, you will die.
Thank you. So the day we stop learning is the day we start to die. So learning is not about age. So we have a few questions from the audience, and I'm going to be reading them out. And so the first one says, AI will open up more opportunities for remote working and flexible working for staff. Are Nigerian organizations ready? Mr. Lawal, what do you think?
Are Nigerian organizations ready for people to work from home? Well, okay. So I know there are lots of discussions and thoughts about it. So I'll share from the experience that we have in InterSwitch. For many years in InterSwitch, For many years, we've thought that unless somebody resumes at 8 o'clock, you can see him and monitor what he's doing, and he closes at 5 o'clock or 6 o'clock, that's the only way to be productive. We're learning that that is not true. Yeah, we're learning that skilled workers probably work best in more relaxed. We're learning that physical presence is not necessary because technology allows us to collaborate and network and work with people outside of the country. I have an engineering team that works with me that is based out of Germany. And we're constantly building and evolving new products and delivering that into the market, even though we're not physically in the same space. So over the last year, we've started to experiment with people actually working from remote locations, remote offices, working from home. And we're finding that we're getting more done with knowledge workers than we were getting with people having to brave 3 hours of traffic in the morning to come to work and 3 hours of traffic to go back home, to spend 6 or 7 hours within the office trying to get work done. So I think it is inevitable that any Nigerian business that thinks seriously about the metrics that defines what performance is will see very quickly that remote working is the way of the future. I have a friend, his son is a developer. He does two primary businesses. He interviews developers for companies and he writes containers using Kubernetes code. He does both of them in his underwear, in his bedroom, in his apartment in central London. He doesn't go to any office. And he's making $200,000 a year. Yeah. So it's inevitable. I don't think it's whether we will or we will not. For me, it's just a matter of time.
Thank you. Thanks so very much. I think it's the future, it's the way to go. I mean, you work from home and you save the company, building, cleaning, and yeah. What is the role of organizational culture in closing the gender gap? Do you want to help us with that? Ms. Sholakmi? Thank you.
I think organizational culture is extremely important. So I was very lucky to have worked in one of the greatest consulting firms in the world, Accenture, where there was a lot of support generally for almost everything. So there was support for flexible working, even though that didn't visit us in Nigeria until I had left. So I was very upset that they had that now after I left. There was support for women. Indeed, in Nigeria, of the 5 partners, I think 3 were women. So I never had, the struggle to have a role model to look to. So culture is extremely important. Even what's going on here with SPE and the WPD is an example of the impact that an organization can have when they focus intentionally on the issues that they say they want to address. So I don't think this is going to work without the organizations being aligned. So how can we get the organizations we work for to support the development of people and women in particular in technology? There are many ways to do that. They could create communities, for example. Facebook, Google, they have developer community events. Many organizations have meetups. I think even Interswitch has a lot of very strong initiatives that they're pushing in the area of blockchain and technology generally, and I'm sure that they're reaping quite a lot of results for them. We have to invest in this future that is coming, and any organization that doesn't get that is going to swiftly go out of business the way Kodak did. Indeed, I can speak to the financial services sector, which is where I spent a lot of my career consulting. And you can see that almost every bank now has set up an incubation lab of some sort because they have realized that the financial technology companies, the fintechs, are going to put them out of business. We spent a lot of our time in consulting telling them fintechs are coming, disintermediation, and suddenly it's all here now. So the banks are all rapidly trying to learn this new culture, trying to get into technology, trying to get their people thinking, because it's beyond just the skills. And I can speak as one of the non-techie people in the tech world. It's not just the technology people. You need your strategy people to be aligned. You need your HR people to know the right people to hire. There are a lot of non-tech roles for product managers, for UI, UX developers. There are lots of people who have a role, to, even for marketers, there are roles to play that are not necessarily technological. So in transforming the organization into one that will survive in the new world that we're going to, it's important that the organization itself takes a bold step to make sure that they're aligned with the culture of the future and they invest in it if they want their people to be the right kind of people with the right kind of skills.
Thank you. Thank you so much. And I've been given the time of 2 more minutes. I will have to round up. Unfortunately, we can't take any more questions, but I think it's been a really, really beautiful afternoon. And one of the things I've learned myself this afternoon is just knowing fully well that, not being a science student, not having read engineering in school, does not stop you from becoming a power broker in the AI world, okay? And I have a slide here that I wanted to read out, and it says, what is AI? And there's a long list of them, and I'm just going to run through them very quickly. Autonomous system, machine learning, deep learning, neural networks, pattern recognition. How many of us use pattern recognition to open our phones? You're already in the AI world. You see what I mean? You didn't need to be an engineer to do that, okay? So pattern recognition, natural language processing, chatbots, real-time emotion analytics, virtual companions, real-time universal translations, thought-controlled gaming. We all play games on our phones, Next-gen cloud robotics, autonomous robotics, robotic personal assistant. I'm waiting for that day when robots will be washing the plates and the cleansing. The daughters coming behind us, the sisters, our daddies, and, and what did we call you again? Honorary women, to please help us spread the news to the young girl, encourage everyone to be part of the future, because really, if we don't join the wagon that is moving, we all are going to be left behind. Thank you so very much for your attention. Thank you.
Just give us 60 seconds. Chine, where are you? Please come with very quickly, come with the gift. Is Vice Council Chairman here? Okay, please. I see Council Chairman is not here. You can help us appreciate our speakers. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, women and honorary men like myself, can you please put our hands together for our most wonderful panel. It's been quite a session, truly incisive a session. Very thought-provoking if you're a lady from Dr. Obi Ezekwesili. Let's begin in no particular order. Let's appreciate Michelle's Elegbe's representative, Hakeem. Thank you, Hakeem, for finding time. And I'm sure you have enjoyed your presence here with your alma mater. Thank you. Okay, Sholakwe Hammond, thank you very much. Sholakwe Hammond, thank you. Funke Okpeke, thank you. Where's Funkes? Okay. Thank you. Game changer, true nation builder. Thank you. And of course, Idris Musa. Idris, thank you. Not only did your company sponsor, you also found time to share your thoughts with us. Thank you. And how can we forget our wonderful moderator, Ibiyemi Asholu? Thank you. Okay, so that said, thank you, Council Chairman, thank you. That said, we will just quickly do. Chine, is Agatha here? Agatha, okay, wanted to be sure she said. So we'll quickly do the vote of thanks. Just still give us another 1-2 minutes and we're done with the whole thing today. As we welcome Agatha Onwaje. Okay, brilliant. Agatha, you're welcome. Come on, please welcome Agatha, ladies and gentlemen.
So good evening, everyone. It's been a very insightful, rewarding, thought-provoking, humbling, and yet encouraging evening. Thank you all for spending time with us. Thank you for sitting in. I'd like to start out by thanking the SPE International President. I'd like to thank the SPE African Regional Director, Wumi Iledari. We'd like to thank the SPE Nigeria Council Chair, the SPE Board of Trustees for their support for the WDP Girl in STEM Leadership Awards and their support for this whole event. Thank you so much. We'd like to say thank you. so much to the speakers for honoring us with their time, their ideas, sharing their presentations. Thank you to Dr. She's not here. Thank you to Madam Funke Okweke. Thank you to Mr. Akim Lawal, who's sitting in for Mr. Michelle Elegbe. Thank you to Madam Ashaolu. Thank you to Mr. Idris Musa and to Madam Shalape Hammond. Thank you so much. We appreciate your time here. We'd also like to say thank you to our sponsors for being so supportive. It takes so much money and so much presence to host an event like this on a yearly basis. Thank you to Schlumberger, thank you to Mavis Energy Development Company, thank you to O&O and Platform Oil. We are truly grateful. We'd like to say thank you to the WDP Girl in STEM Leadership Award contributors. We appreciate your support in raising this new generation of strong, independent women. We're grateful. Thank you to the Women's Development Program Advisor. You are truly a force for good. We are grateful. People have been slugging it in the background, trying to make everything happen, holding hands together, running around, and it's so satisfying to see it come together. Thank you to the members of the Women's Development Program Committee. Thank you, Chineye. You are such a force. Thank you. Would like to say thank you to the females from the family program event. Thank you for taking time to partner with us and to attend. And finally, thank you to everyone who's attended this evening. It's been amazing. We are grateful for your support. Have a blessed rest of the day.
Okay, Vice Council Chair, SPI President. Vice Council Chair, please come. Can the President of SP please join us for a photograph? Or OG, please come forward. Chine, please, we need you up here. Oh, Council Chair here, yeah, come. Let's Council Chair continue here already. You have my BOT chairman, please come. So the AGM starts in this hall immediately following this event. Okay, 5:30, I'm told 5:30. I'm told 5:30. Okay. I'm told AGM is 5:30. There will be that AGM at 5:30. We want to make a very special appeal to our distinguished guests and speakers. Please, as you take this picture, look at the camera, just listen to me. Look at the camera, just listen to me. Thank you. Please, when you're done, we beg you to spend 10 minutes visiting some of our exhibitors, 10-15 minutes, visiting some of our exhibitors in the exhibition floor, see what technology they have, what partnerships you can go into. Please do us that honors and spend some minutes. Okay, remember tomorrow the programs continue in the morning. If you are one of those who are subject matter experts for the for the technical sessions, you know where there would be the annual awards dinner tomorrow evening. AGM at 5:30. Please, your personal belongings, your personal belongings. They lost some fan phone earlier. We have given it to the owner. We have given it to the owner. Be mindful of your personal belongings. AGM 5:30. So please get to the cocktail, grab a cup of drink, some small chops, and if you're not eligible for the AGM, you allow members at 5:30 in the hall to continue with the AGM. Our special guest, please, just 10-15 minutes on the exhibition floor. Let's show you one or two things about our exhibitors. Thank you very much. Cutest gift ever. We thank you. We thank you for the thanks as well. Thank you.